Good morning. You can see I'm on the run this morning. Everybody got up early and I'm trying to get away before they all put me to work. Papa, do this. Papa, do that. Rod, do this. Rod, do that. Quick, I gotta hide under my favorite spot here. I think I'm safe. All in good fun. But, well, I often wonder when I'm reading Genesis, how much of that is all in good fun. A big chunk of the book of Genesis, in fact, you might even say the major part of it, is the story of Joseph. And we've been talking about that. It starts with Jacob and his shenanigans with his uncle and then getting his wives and this, that, and the other. But it ends up with Joseph. And at the very end, it's Joseph's death that we're dealing with. But before we get there, it's a wild and woolly story. And a lot of people say, oh, it's the coolest story. It's one of those ones I learned when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And we learned all about Joseph's coat of many colors and how his brothers had sold him into slavery and how he went down there and became great in Egypt and saved his brothers and his dad and the whole family. And they brought them all down there and they lived happily ever after. Yeah, that's kind of the drift of the story. The book Genesis is a book of origins. In fact, that's what the name means, origins. It's how it all began in this group of people that are called Israelites, the people of God. And, well, that's kind of a candy-coated story I just gave you. This is a story that's full of intrigue, a story that's full of treachery, a story that's full of deceit, even on the part of Joseph, our hero. You say, oh, come on. Yeah. Well, let me clue you in on this. If you're in a congregation that's following along with the alternate reading of the Old Testament, you've been following the Joseph story, and we've been talking about it on our little walks in the morning. And this Joseph story now is at the point where the brothers of Joseph are coming down to Egypt to get their grain because they're in the midst of a famine. They're coming to buy it. Joseph recognizes them. They don't recognize him. Okay, you got that? There's a lot of deception that goes along. Joseph kind of plays around with them. Now, I'll jump ahead just a little bit. The story that we have today is Joseph revealing himself to his brothers. All right? And it's a story of love, forgiveness, redemption, whatever you want to throw in there, it's there. But before you get there, Joseph kind of plays around with them for a little bit and keeps them in the dark as to who he is. In fact, he even doesn't even speak to them directly. He speaks through an interpreter so that they think he doesn't know what they're saying amongst themselves, and he knows all along. It's really kind of cool to see that happening. Here I'm getting caught up in it, right? Oh, this intrigue. But as we see the story go along, the other intriguing and deceptive and trickery that Joseph plays on them is that on one of their journeys back to Canaan with all their wheat and goodies, he puts their money that they came to pay for it back in their bags, number one. So now they're freaking out that they think that maybe those Egyptians and Joseph are going to think that we stole it. They don't know it's Joseph yet, okay? They're going to think that we stole our money back. But then he puts in the sack of the youngest brother, Benjamin. Remember Ben? Yeah, good old Benny. The youngest, younger than even Joseph. And as they leave, they get a little bit away from Egypt. Joseph sends out a messenger saying, what's this all about? You took this guy's favorite silver chalice. It's the one that he does divination by. How's he supposed to talk to the gods if you've taken his silver chalice? We don't have it. Swear we don't have it. And if you find it in here, whoever's it is, they'll be your slave forever. So they put their sacks down, start digging through, and sure enough, there it is. They're all freaking out because they can't go back home to Jacob without Ben. Jacob did not want to send Benjamin in the first place. They said, hey, we're not getting any food if he doesn't come with us, because that big dude down in Egypt who we're dealing with, he said, make sure you bring everybody, your whole family this time. That would have got me wondering, does this guy know more about us than we think? Who is this guy that we're dealing with? Well, anyhow, they turn around, they go back, and they plead their case. We didn't know what was in there. We don't know how it got in there. We got to take this kid back because his dad said he's just going to die if he doesn't come back. And Joseph just sits here cross-armed and says, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then, this is the remarkable part of the story that we sometimes forget. One of the brothers, Judah, you might recall his name. He's one that talked the other brothers into not killing Joseph in the first place and just throwing me into that pit. Remember all that? Well, Judah steps up to the plate and says, take me instead. He's got to go back or his father will die. He'll die of grief. He's already lost one son. He can't lose another one. Wow. And here's the deal. When you look at the story, why did Joseph even pull this off in the first place? Was he trying to exact a little bit of revenge? Or was he testing them to see where their hearts really lie? I like to think that's what he was doing. He was testing him, because all through the story, they talk about how once the brothers all left the company of Joseph, he would just sit down and cry his eyes out. He wept. And yet he continued to do some of this trickery, but I think he really wanted to know, were they sorry for what they did? So, the same thing happens here. Joseph hears the story from Judah and realizes, I can't hold this in anymore. He sends everybody out of the room except for himself and his brothers. Now, his brothers are thinking, what the heck is going on now? Now we don't have any interpreter. What's he going to do? Call in a whole bunch of guys with swords and takes our heads off right now? Well, that's not in the story, but I'm sure that's what they were thinking. And Joseph simply says, it starts crying inconsolably and looks at them and says, I'm your brother. Is Daddy still alive? It's that simple. I'm your brother. Is Daddy still alive? And it's at that moment that they're looking at him. It says, I don't like the translation. It says they were dismayed. That's a terrible, that almost seems like now they're angry at him. Like, why did you do this to us? No. Basically, they're befuddled. They are shocked. They don't know what to do next because they realize it is Joseph. And they all weep and they all cry. And it's a wonderful story of forgiveness. Now, if you read closely the storyline, which I'm not going to do now, you'll see that Joseph isn't necessarily leaving them off the hook. He tells them what they did was absolutely criminal. It was wrong. It was immoral. And yet, God was there. God did it. And there's a couple of cats who are fighting. See? It happens all over the place, right? Siblings always fight. But God is always there for us. God is always working through the strangest of situations, even though we don't always see it. And that was what Joseph was telling his brothers. But the forgiveness that flows through. And if you read on, this is chapter 45, you read on through chapter 50, when Joseph passes away himself. Well, actually, it's his father passes away, and then he passes. But it's when his dad passes away, the brothers are all, man, I wonder if he's still holding that grudge against us. Now that Dad's dead, he's going to get us for it. Nope, he doesn't. And once again, he rehearses that story. You intended this for evil. God used it for good. Kind of a interesting, dramatic tale that we have in Scripture. But be sure to read it carefully. There is lots of intrigue. There's lots of crazy stuff that goes on all the way through. But in the end, it talks about a brother whose love for his family, even though they wronged him, overrides all the bad stuff they did to him. If a brother can do that to his family that we read in Scripture, what can we do toward ours? What can we do toward one another? Our family, our friends, our neighbors, that grumpy coworker of ours? Hey, forgiveness is a word found in the Scriptures that we are to embody in every relationship we have. God's blessings be with you this day. Go out and enjoy it. I have water dripping off the leaves of the trees around me right now. It feels so good. Every now and then one hits my forehead. It feels great. It's from a nice soaking rain we had last night. But the sun is shining. It's going to be an awesome day. Blessings be with you.